Hello friends, and welcome back to another Tuesday with Nye. This week, I saw several questions about people asking, how can we sharpen our scissors at home? We don't want to leave the house, it's cold. Okay, they didn't say that, but they did ask, how can they sharpen their scissors at home? And I thought, I do that. I could probably help. So I decided to make a quick video to show you how to not become serial killers. No, that's not what I meant. How to sharpen your fabric shears. Do you want to know how I do mine? Well, you got to stick around. I'm Nye with Ellie and Mac. Let's go, friends. Welcome back, friends. I'm so glad you stuck around to figure out how I sharpen my scissors. First, let's talk about scissors a little bit. Scissors, or cutting shears, are not like knives. If you look at a knife has a bevel on both sides. Therefore, it's super important to sharpen both sides of your knife. Especially if you're a serial killer. Can you tell I've been listening to true crime lately? Obsessed. Ugh. But that's neither here nor there. Your scissors actually make a shearing motion rather than a slicing motion. And so, when you sharpen your scissors, you only need to sharpen one side of each blade. If you take a look at the anatomy of your scissors, you'll see on the back side, there's a small bevel here. And on the front side, there's a small bevel here. And so if you notice, those two edges come together to go ahead and they shear fabric apart. Here, you'll find that most scissors have a mechanism to hold those blades together. There's an extreme amount of tension here in this nut and screw, which keeps your scissors tight. It keeps your blades very, very tight. Like right here at the very tip, you'll see like you can't see through there because those blades are being held very, very closely together. And that's how they actually slice through or shear through your fabric. So you want to make sure that if you are going to remove this, it's not unheard of, then you want to make sure that you tighten it all the way because you want to maintain that tension or your scissors are going to be wonky and loose and they're just not going to cut properly. So double check that and make sure it's tight. Another thing you're going to need, besides your scissors, is a marker. This permanent marker will help you find that teeny little bevel that's hard to know if you're sharpening it or not if you can't see it. And listen, I have my glasses on today and everybody knows I cannot see a thing, but I try my best. This helps. You will also need a whetstone. Now, some of you have already heard of me using my whetstone to sharpen my items that I sew with because I actually use this for my scissors, and I actually have a video of me using this to sharpen my rotary blades. It does a great job. If you want to see that video, I'll go ahead and put the link up so you can actually check it out. I have a couple of other tools in that video, which includes this True Cut Easy, Safe, Accurate tool, which is for sharpening your rotor blades. You just run your rotor blades through and make sure you have your rotary blade on the sharpening side so that you're actually sharpening because the sharpener is on this side, not on this side. So I think a lot of people had kind of mixed reviews on this, but you can go ahead and watch my video and see how I feel about it when used properly. Now, you're also going to need some water because it's a whetstone. A whetstone can be found at any hardware store. They generally will come with a smooth side and a coarse side. The coarse side is the darker side, and you always want to start on your coarse side. You wet your stone I usually just kind of run it under the sink with water. Take your Sharpie, open your scissor, and you want to draw along your bevel. That way you know that you're actually sharpening your scissors in the right spot rather than, you know, kind of not sharpening it correctly. One no. Never, ever, ever sharpen this side of your scissors. You will render your scissors absolutely unusable and you will have to get them fixed. So the flat sides of your blades, this and this, should never, never be sharpened. I just wanted to say that really quickly. Okay, so what you will do is you will take your whetstone and you will take your scissors with your bevel. And now it's really difficult to get the correct movement, so it takes a little bit of practice, okay? Now you want to make it so that your bevel is actually touching your stone. And you'll know when you're done running it through because your marker will disappear if you're doing it at the right angle. And you want to make sure you're getting the whole length of your scissor. See, now I've done it once and you can see, well, you may not be able to see, but some of my blade is still black. So I know that I'm not adding enough tension at the beginning and at the end of my sharpen. So I'm going to run it one more time. You want to run this about 10 to 20 times. Now generally I would do this on the table, but in order for you to see, I have to do it in a position where you can actually see. So now I can see that I'm actually removing some of the marker from my blade, which means that I am actually doing a good job sharpening it. Oh, yes. Okay. I need a little more here. Great. Okay. Now that I have sharpened this little bevel side, oh yes, I have. I can go ahead and I want to wipe it off first because we don't want no gunk in there, okay? I double check to make sure if there are any burrs, okay? So when you sharpen it, sometimes some little pieces of metal may fold to the other side of your scissors. So what you want to make sure you do is run that through to remove those burrs. Oh yeah, that's nice and sharp. Okay, so now I'm going to do the other side. Now remember, bevel down. Let me spray this a little bit more. Yep. So a little bit of an angle to make sure that you get that bevel. Now, the interesting thing about this side of the scissor is that it almost has to be facing straight up in order to get that bevel in there. So whereas on the other side, it didn't. So nice uniform strokes across your stone until your marker has all but disappeared. Now the reason why I have this towel here is because I don't want to slip and cut my finger off. We are sharpening. And I will not lie. I do not want to cut my finger off. I really don't. Not even for the sake of educating you all. Would I like to lose my finger? So, now that I've got that all done, oh yeah. Now I can go ahead and run it across the smooth side, or not so coarse side of my whetstone. Now what you don't want to do is run your scissors across this edge right here. That's not super helpful. So you want to have like a nice balanced kind of weight on your blade and your stone. Okay? That way, you know, you're not just like ridging your scissors across this very sharp side of your stone. Also, if you feel uncomfortable with knowing where the bevel is, you can go ahead and mark it again. Nobody's gonna know except me and Nancy. Okay, I'm not gonna know, and Nancy's not a real person, but you know what I mean. All right. So then you get the other side and run it through. All right, like that. I always find it interesting how one side of the scissors is one angle and the other side is a completely different angle of the bevel. So it's very interesting. I never noticed that before I sharpened my scissors, and now I'm kind of like, oh, look at that, you know. Sometimes having a knowledge of your little instruments makes it a little bit easier to work with them. And now, woo, listen to that. I want to make sure I wipe these off because I don't want to leave any gums inside of my scissors. And now, we're good to go. I can tell the difference in these shears just by holding them. Oh, I can just feel the way these blades are slicing past one another. It is pretty amazing. And then I took a little piece of fabric and I cut right through it. Whoop, whoop. Oh, like butter. Perfect. And we all know how fabulous butter is. So, let's go over that again. One more time for the people in the back. If you want to sharpen your scissors, all you really need is your scissors, a little bit of water, a whetstone, a towel, and a marker. That's all you need to sharpen your scissors. Make sure you put a little bit of oil in there once in a while so that they don't rust. Be sure to wipe those scissors off because we all know rust is the enemy of sharpness. I hope you have a fabulous week. That's all I have for you today, my friends. I hope you come back next week to see what I have for you. I will see you next week. I hope you have a glorious week. Be kind to those you see on the street. Be the joy you wish to see in the world. And I will see you next week. Bye, friends. Quickly, I want to give a shout out to a little Etsy shop that has been making the most fabulous earrings, which is what I'm wearing today, is my avocado and egg toast earring. I'm probably going to be wearing food earrings every single week for the rest of my life because I love them so much. Check out the shop if you like. I'll leave the link below.